Okay, so that's all the boring stuff out of the way. So for now, we'll get on to drawing our project. So for this project, we're going to be drawing up a simple workbench, just made out of timber. So we'll be using some pretty standard timber sizes. We'll have some 90 by 90 timber legs, some 240 by about 1.2 meter long timber for the bench top, and then some framing timber. So we'll start by drawing our plan view. We're going to be drawing three views of this. We'll do a plan view, a front elevation view, and an end view. So to start with our plan view, we click on the rectangle here, and I'll just pick a point anywhere on the screen, and as I drag it out, you can see that the layer we had selected is 1/8 id. We want this to be a thicker line, so I'm going to change that to 3.5 continuous, or 3.5 continuous. And you can see as I drag it out, we've got these little boxes, the size A and size B box that appear, and as I move to the right, the size A box increases, and as I move up, the size B box increases. These will also increase at the same rate that the X and Y box increases. So as we talked about before, that X and Y is actually the coordinate of the point underneath my cursor. So to draw the top view of our bench top, we're going to have a 240 by 1.2 long plane. So the easiest way to do that is to actually click on a point, start dragging out, and then if I type in an @ symbol, you'll see I get define the second corner of the box. Now @ symbol means relative. Before, when I was talking about the X and Y, it was all relative to the 0, 0 point, the origin. When I type in the @ it actually makes it relative to the point I clicked previously, so in that case it's this point here. So that makes it easy to type in numbers without having to worry about figuring out how far from that 0, 0 origin we're working. So I type the @ symbol, and it's going to be 1200 mil long, so that's 1200 in the X direction, and then I use a comma, and it's going to be 240 in the Y direction. So you'll see that's created relative to this first point I clicked. It's gone 1200 in that direction, and it's gone 240 in that direction. So that's created a rectangle. Now a rectangle is treated as one single object. Another way we could have done that is to actually go up here and click on the line tool, use individual lines. So if I click my first line, now you'll see it's very hard to actually draw a straight line with the option ortho off. So if you hit F8, it will actually constrain it to a horizontal or a vertical line, which can be very handy. So again, same principle with this one. If I type in an @ symbol, type in 1200 in the X direction, and because this is just a single line, we don't want it to move up or down at all. We want it to be a completely horizontal line, so we're going to type 0 into the Y direction. So you see that gives us a 1200 mil long line. So if I click on the line tool again and click on the end of this line, and I type in, you'll see that the length here is selected. If I just type in 240 there, it gives me a 240 line relative to that line there, to that point there. Now, to save myself a bit of typing, because I've got this point here already put in, I can actually, if I move the mouse over that line and leave it there for a second, you see I get those dotted yellow lines. That actually extends that point in the horizontal and vertical directions, so I can actually snap to that without actually having to type the line in. So you'll see I get that little diamond shape when I hover over that line. I just click on that line, and see it's giving me exactly 1200mm line lined up with this point. So I'll draw one more line to close it off. Now the difference between using that method and the rectangle method is, if I click on this, you'll see each line is treated as an individual object. So if I wanted to move this, I'd have to select the whole thing. And if I go over to the right hand side, you'll see I've got the move tool. Now the way the move tool works is I pick my reference point, and say I wanted to move this over 200mm. I can just type in at 200mm and 0 in the Y direction, and that's moved that over. With the rectangle, I just have to click on any of these sides and it selects the whole thing, so it makes it a lot easier to work with. So I'll stick with the rectangles for now. Okay, so I've got one rectangle drawn up which forms one half of the bench top, so we're going to have two of these planks side by side. So if I just click on one of these edges to select this rectangle, I'm going to copy it down. So if you look over to the right hand side, you'll see there's the button with the three little balls, and if I hover over it says copy, so I'm going to click on that. And you'll see on the screen it says specify base point, and press enter to use object reference point. I'm going to specify a base point because I want this top corner to snap to this bottom corner. Now you can see it's grabbed it in the middle. That's actually something I've noticed with DoubleCAD. If I have that ortho mode on when I pick my first base point, it snaps it either horizontally or vertically with this yellow dot, which is our reference point for this object. So I'm going to hit F8 to turn off ortho, click on my rectangle again, click copy, hover over this top corner, and you'll see this time it's actually picked that top corner. So now I want to pick that bottom corner there, and it's made a copy of this rectangle and it's snapped it into this point. So that's the plan view of our bench top. So that's now 2 times 240 planks by 1.2 meters long. So now we'll draw the legs in underneath. So I go over here and I click on the rectangle box. Click anywhere on the screen. Now these legs are 90mm by 90mm square. So when I click and I start dragging out, I'm going to hit the at symbol, type in 90 in the X direction, comma 90 in the Y direction, and that's giving me a 90 by 90 square. Now this leg is actually going to be sitting underneath this bench top, so it's going to be a hidden line in this view. So if I click on this leg and go up to the layers tab, click the down arrow and click on 18 hid, it will change this leg to be a hidden line. So I'll click on the leg again and I'm going to move it into place using the move tool over here on the right. So I want to snap to this top left hand corner and click. Again, I've had the ortho on, so I'll just make sure ortho's off. Click on the box, hit move, and I've grabbed the right corner this time, so I'll stick this leg right in that top corner. Actually want this leg to be moved in 45mm because we're going to have a supporting piece of timber underneath the bench top which we want flush on each side. So I click this leg, click on the move tool again, and I click anywhere on the screen. Now if I type in the at symbol, 45 in the X direction and 0 in the Y direction, move that leg over 45mm. Now to make the other legs, there's going to be 4 legs on this bench, I could click on this leg, hit copy, pick that top point and drag it over here and make a copy that way, but an easier method is to use the mirror tool. So what the mirror tool is it creates a mirror image around an axis that you pick. So if I click on the leg to select it, go over here, click on the mirror copy. Now I want to mirror this leg around the middle of this bench. So if I put my cursor over the middle of that, you'll see I get that snap, which shows me the middle. So I click on that. Now I want it to be a perfectly vertical line, so I'm going to hit F8 and turn on ortho again, and you can see it snaps it horizontal or vertical, that dotted line. If I just click anywhere down here, you'll see it's created another copy. Now we can do that again to get the legs on this side. So if I click on one, hold down shift and click on the other, go over here to the mirror tool, pick the middle line there and the middle line there. It's flipped those over and made a copy. If you weren't getting the middle line snaps, if you look down the bottom here, there's a button that says snap. So you can turn the snaps on and off by clicking on that button. When it's grayed out, they're off. When it's black, they're on. If I right click on that, I get my snap menu come up. So before, when I was talking about the ortho mode, hitting F8 to turn it on and off, that checks or unchecks this box. So that's our horizontal and vertical constraint mode. The snaps here, when I did that mirror, I snapped to the middle point of the line. An end point is any vertex on a line. So in this corner here, when I snapped, it snapped to the end point because there's two lines coming in and there's an end point there. You can check perpendicular, so if I draw a line from here, I can actually make it snap perpendicular to this line, which is quite a handy thing. These are the main ones you use. It's the endpoint, middle point, center, quadrant, intersection. I'm going to tick intersection, and perpendicular. I also make sure extended ortho and apparent intersection are ticked because we use those quite often. So there we have our four legs, and they're shown in a dashed line because they're hidden underneath this bench top in this view. Now we're going to do the support timber underneath. Again, this on the left and right, these are hidden. These are going to be 45 by 90. So I'm going to click on rectangle. I change my layers to one out hidden. I'm going to pick this corner here, and because I know I've moved this leg 45 mil from this corner, I can just click here, and I know that the distance from this line to this line is going to be 45 mil. So I need to copy that over to this side. Again, I'm just going to use the mirror tool around the midpoint of this, and you can see it's copied it over. Now because I've used rectangles, these are still considered a single object, even though these hidden lines are hidden behind the thicker ones. That's quite handy because we might need to use those in another view, so we can copy those and we'll save us redrawing later. There's one more thing to show in this view, which is this front timber support here. So this is going to be another 45 by 90 mil piece of timber that's going to be fixed to these legs. So if I type in the @ symbol, now this one's going to be 1200 mil long, which is as long as the bench, so 1200 in the X direction and 45 in the Y direction. So now I've got 45 mil this way, 1.2 this way. This is not hidden by the bench top, so I want it to be a 3-5 line. So I click on it, go up to 3-5, and I'll change that to a continuous line. Now I want another one on the bottom, so I'm going to click on that, go to mirror, pick one end in the middle, pick the other end, and it's flipped it around for me. So that there is our plan view. We'll move on to our front elevation now, which should hopefully make the whole bench seem a bit clearer.